I just shrugged it off and I thought to myself, yeah, it's just probably just emo songs, like we listen to emo songs, you feel that sensation, right? Yeah, so I didn't think much about it and I had still a lot of doubts. At the end, it was like an auto call. So the customer asked like, if you're curious about God, you can raise your hand. So I raised my hand, but I didn't intend to accept Christ in any way because there wasn't enough reason for me to believe. I think there was like a battle between like my mind and my heart. Like the rational brain is telling me this things is all hoax, like God is not real, it's all in my mind. I suddenly felt a very like strong spiritual force that came upon me. But it was not a scary kind of force. Like usually when you feel something like that, you'll be very scared, right? But yeah, I felt very like even more peace actually. And I thought that wow, that makes so much sense. When growing up, my grandparents were Taoist, and then they did ancestral worship at home, and they prayed every day religiously. While my parents, they were free thinkers. I was sent to a Catholic kindergarten because my parents heard that they were really nice. So they had good reputation. So they just sent us there, although they didn't really believe Catholic religion at all. So growing up, my first encounter with God was when I was sent to a Catholic kindergarten. I became very adverse against Christianity because every day we were forced to pray and there were certain rituals we had to do that I just felt like, if I don't know why we are doing what we're doing, then what's the point of doing it? And I didn't like being forced to do what I didn't want to do. So I remember I was a bit frustrated. I was like, why am I called to pray every day? And it was confusing because at home, my grandparents were praying to a certain God, and in school, it was another God. So in my brain, like, religion is probably fake. How can there be so many different gods out there, right? I also had a cousin who was my age. So my aunt and my uncle would bring us to like church every Saturday also. So I'll follow them sometimes. Honestly, I didn't understand anything. Like it was hard to understand and catch and understood why they did what they did also. And I remember I had this memory of like me staring at the like a Jesus statue and my cousin. I was asking my cousin like, "Oh, they believe in Jesus?" Like, yeah, I had such like a huge doubt and like skepticism about the faith. Yeah, and I never think that I would become a Christian actually. I think growing up, always felt like inferior compared to my siblings because my siblings were quite high achievers in schools and stuff like that. So for context, I have an older sister and a younger brother, so I'm a middle child. And I think although my parents never really compared us explicitly in any way, but society do like prize people who are smarter on a higher regard and give them more recognition, more respect. And I think I wanted that for myself. So I decided to work really, really hard in secondary school to prove my worth. So I would study like 24/7. They did whatever I could to do well in school. Because of that, I was really, really stressed out. Sometimes if I don't get the score that I wanted, even though it's like decent, I would like burst into tears in school. I really couldn't control my emotions. Yeah, and I was quite frustrated with myself for that also. I was like, wow, why am I so emotional, about such like grades? In secondary school was also where I met like my secondary school a close friend, Eunice. We were really close and we would sit together in his class and sometimes we would just talk about life. And then basically secondary school, because I was so stressed, right? And then everyone was quite competitive in school. But she was the only one that was the most stable presence there. And she wasn't really wavered by all this competitiveness and she was always like very encouraging and caring and she always valued like friendship over like all these like grades and stuff like that. And I think that was something I was drawn to, and her kindness just in everything she does, always carrying out people's interests first before herself. And that really touched my heart. So slowly I became more curious about her religion because that's a big part of who she is as a person. I started to ask her questions about Christianity and being curious. Also because she's really the nicest person I knew, and because of that my heart started to soften. So I became curious. Yeah. So a lot of my things that I believe in was like just based on what I think should be the truth and what the world tells me is the truth. Yeah, and then I realized that I didn't really have a very stable like anchor. One day after I sent my parents, my dad drove us, right? Then he picked up my friend like Eunice and then dropped her off. Then after that, I told my dad casually, oh, she's a Christian. So there was my sister in the car also. So there's three of us. And then he casually answered, actually, do you know God is real? And I was so shocked. I was like, huh? My dad saying that? It's so confusing because firstly, he never ever went to church in my brain. And he dabbled into like Buddhism, Hinduism in the past. So and sometimes he didn't follow through also. So he was like a free thinker. So I was very confused. And then he explained that he was one day just in the office, and then he had a vision of a cross in his mind. And then right after that, his friend invited him to a Catholic church. Then he just went. And in the Catholic church, he had a supernatural encounter. He felt like supernatural light on him, and there was a peace in his heart. I was like, wow, okay, that's crazy. Like, and that moment made him realize that God was real. And then my sister was there also. And then she was like, wait, do you know that I also went to church like recently, and I had a crazy encounter also. And my sister explained that I think it was just within the same month. They didn't tell each other they were visiting church at all. So my sister went to a church with her friends, and she was very skeptical. She just went because her friends invited her. And yeah, she really truly didn't understand. And she was just asking a lot of tough questions to her during dinner. All their friends said was like, oh, why don't you just pray to God before you sleep and see what happens? And she went back to the hostel room, she prayed, and the moment she prayed, something crazy happened. So she asked God sincerely, like, okay, if you are real, can you reveal yourself to me? And the moment she did, her heart started to like warm up, her tongue started to swell, and she could speak in tongues. Like, she had to give her tongues instantly from that. Yeah. So she knew God was real. And I think the crazy thing is that these two things happened, like my dad's testimony and my sister's testimony happened like, yeah, within such a short span of time. And it all revealed on that day. And then I was like, wow, I know if my parents and my dad and my sister is not lying, and yeah, this God could be real. Like, it's such crazy things are happening. Yeah, when my sister invited me to the church, I had nothing better to do, so I was like, I can just go. Like, O-levels is over, nothing much to do, I don't have to study, I don't have any excuse anymore. So I went with her. It was a Christmas musical, and I'm someone that really loved like music in general and like dance also. So it was nice to watch like a Christmas production. Music did touch my heart during the production, but I didn't think much about it. I just shrugged it off, and I thought to myself, yeah, just probably just emo songs, you know, like with emo songs, you feel like that sensation, right? Yeah. So I didn't think much about it, and I had still a lot of doubts. And then at the end of the service, the pastor asked everyone to close their eyes, and they posed the question, yeah, if you're curious about God, you can raise your hand. Yeah, I was still coming in with a lot of skepticism and doubts. At the end, it was like an auto call, but I didn't know it was an auto call, so I was kind of clickbaited to it. But so the pastor asked, like, if you're curious about God, you can raise your hand. So I raised my hand because of whatever that has happened to my family, and I was really just really curious. Yeah, I think it was like an openness in my heart that it was kind of like a prayer to God, I guess, in my brain. Like, I wasn't conscious of it then, but I guess I was really curious, and I just raised my hand. And I raised my hand because I was legit really curious because so many things have been happening, but I didn't intend to accept Christ in any way because there wasn't enough reason for me to believe. But then I was surprised because that step of faith like led to a series of chain of events that God that met me when I took that first step to believe in Him. So when I was in front, I think there was like a battle between like my mind and my heart. Like, the rational brain is telling me this things is all hoax. Like, God is not real. It's all in my mind. But my heart was feeling a lot of things. Like, I think I felt this peace throughout being in church. At the moment I was in front, then I suddenly felt a very like strong spiritual force that came upon me. But it was not a scary kind of force. Like, usually when you feel something like that, you'll be very scared, right? But yeah, I felt very like even more peace actually. But it was like a deep knowing that there's a higher being out there. So this force came over me externally and going to my soul. So yeah, so I know that this God is not just like a physical God, but He's also like a spiritual God. I started to tremble also. So I was shivering a lot, and then there was this force like hitting the back of my knee, asking me to kneel down. Yeah, then I was like, wow, I think God's telling me to kneel down. So so after this whole experience, I was like, okay, I think I can't deny that there could be a God out there. Yeah. I think after I accepted Christ, I felt this like love and peace that I never felt before. I was really just drawn to church in general, so I just continued going every week with my siblings. Basically, right after me, my brother also came to church. So the next event, it was like New Year's event. So he came, and then like during the worship, he decided to just like actually start singing as well. And then when he started singing, the Holy Spirit came upon him also, and he could feel like the presence that I felt also. So it was quite crazy because like it was just like such a short span of time, just 1 week after I accepted Christ, right? So my sister, me and my brother, 3 of us started going to church. And I think because it was not just me, like my whole family was also like going to church, right? Like, so after my dad accepted Christ, my mom also started following him to a church lah. Although we're in different churches. Yeah, because it's not just me, I think it was easier to believe that God was real. because we all had our separate encounters and we didn't influence each other. Like, yeah, different timings and different days that we encountered each other. Yeah, so I was convinced that God was real lah. Cause I went to church every week. I learned about God every week, and I think each time I listened to the truth from the Bible, right, and then apply it to my life, and then I test it out, right, like experiment, and then every time I did what was God's like instructions, I realized that I experienced the same peace that I felt, and as I learned about the religion, I realized that wow, the Bible is really feels like the truth. Like every single thing that he says, when I try it out, like it gives me like so much peace and joy in my heart that I never felt before. So I would say like my biggest like revelation was realizing that I didn't have to like strive to be loved. I think all this while when I was like chasing after all these things, like grades, recognition, and respect, right? Actually, I'm chasing after love. And the Bible is all about love, right? Like basically that like we're all made to love. And I thought that wow, that makes so much sense. Also like purpose of life, right? Like I realized it's about getting to know people around me, seeing who God made them to be, them as a whole person. Yeah, I became more people-centric. Because in the past I was so stressed about school and work, right? So sometimes I miss out on times about like being present fully for people and just being there. But once I'm set free from those expectations of myself, I could really fully be present in friendships, and that gave me so much joy, so much more than whatever like affirmation I got from like academic validation, so much more than like the satisfaction is nothing compared to this relationship building I have with all my friends and family as well. Life is really not this hard. It's not meant to be this hard. And I think we all wake up with a purpose, like there's something that drives us every day. I think the world can tell us that the best grades, earning the most money, climbing the corporate ladder, that's the way to happiness and success. But that might not be the truth. Like you have to question whether this is the truth, like you're so miserable now. So is that really the truth if you're trying it out and then it's not working out, right? So I would recommend you to try something else if it's not working out. And why not try the Bible? And you realize that indeed the truth will set you free.